Hey, what's going on, guys? Now, I will say today is a relatively important day for gamers. Well, not physically today, the day I'm recording, but the day that this video is going live. The reason why I say it's important is because it has been 2 years since the Series X has came out. And I'm just going to give you just a few thoughts, trying to make this video as short as possible, but a few thoughts on what I think about the value and the worth of the system all these years later. I've actually had this system since the day it came out, and I've been playing it ever since. And these are just my thoughts on what I think of this system and how fun it is. You know, is it worth spending $500? The system's still $500, and it's rumored that it may go up. Just a few quick thoughts on what I think of the system. Now, first off, when it comes to value, I think the value for the system is still great. When it comes to graphic fidelity, when it comes, playing those games, there's games that are on this thing that look just lifelike. I'm really surprised and blown away with how good some of these games actually look. And even with it looking as well as it does, 2 years later, my system is still like extremely quiet. And that really, I feel like, speaks volumes for the engineering team and what they did to make this system so great. And it just holds up well. I will say I don't experience a lot of crashes on it, and keep in mind, I really put my system through its paces. But for the most part, the game system doesn't seem to crash that much. And it actually runs pretty well. Now, when it does crash, it does suck, and I do have weird bugs from now and then, but ultimately the system seems to run very fine. And I will put a disclaimer, part of that crashing could be the software version. I do have beta skip ahead, so I definitely want to make that disclaimer, because it seems like my wife's Series X doesn't really crash that often, and she's running just stock OS. Even with the beta software I'm running, it doesn't crash that often. She doesn't have beta software. I don't think I've ever heard her complain about her Xbox crashing. As far as like wear and tear on the system, unfortunately I did have to buy another controller already, because the controller did seem to break within that 2-year time frame. I think I bought a new controller about maybe 6 months ago, so I'll say it was close to 1.5 years before I had to replace it, and it was just one of the buttons seemed to go out on it. And I'm not one of those people that like to eat all this greasy food and touch the controllers and things like that. Fortunately, the controller just went out, but was able to get another one. So worst case scenario, that's the biggest issue I've had. Everything else seems to run extremely fine. Now, one thing I will say that was really great, one of the biggest complaints when the system did come out was that the fact that the UI looked a lot like the Xbox One. It looked exactly like the Xbox One, even with the resolution. It was still at 1080p. Well, Microsoft has came and fixed that several times over, and now we're running a brand new UI. Now personally, my thoughts on it is I'm very happy that Microsoft finally changed the UI, because we can go into a new generation of gaming. I don't want to necessarily feel like I'm on last generation's gaming systems, especially since a lot of those games can still be played on the previous Xboxes. But Microsoft made the UI in 4K. Don't know why it wasn't in 4K before, but nonetheless, it's in 4K now. Like I said, Microsoft did change the way the UI looks. Unfortunately, the UI looks like a giant Game Pass ad, and I really hope sometime next year they change that, especially for people that don't have Game Pass. If you don't have Game Pass, I really feel sorry for you, because you feel like you're getting even more ads. At least someone like me can go like, okay, well, maybe I'll try that game out. But if you have no interest in Game Pass, then that UI is just totally useless to you. So I really hope that Microsoft can change the UI soon to make it where it's more displaying the games and apps that I actually already have. You can put little ads for Game Pass and other things here and there. Unfortunately, I know they have to promote. I wish they didn't, but it's just too in your face right now. Besides that, though, they did do a lot of quality of life changes. They did make things a little bit easier to kind of get around, the system. I do like that the games and app in the store are fixed applications that are there versus an icon that can disappear if it's in your recently opened apps. So I am glad about that. Now as far as things like hard drive space goes, I think I might have said this in every single video. I had a video when the system first came out. I did a video from last year when I talked about this 1 year later review, and I did a video, and now obviously I'm doing a video now 2 years later. And the constant thing is the 1 terabyte is just not enough. I know Microsoft probably wanted to keep prices down, and I already know they're taking $100 to $200 loss on the systems that they're selling already. But with the games that are coming out in the file sizes, and a lot of games are like 100 or over or right under, you can really fill up your system very quickly. I have 4 terabytes pretty much. 2 are, one's internal storage and one is from the expansion, the Seagate expansion drive. The other 2 is a 2 terabyte external hard drive, which I keep pretty much just older games, non-optimized Series X games on there. But the storage is going to be rough for you. So you know, if you're looking to buy this system, I definitely suggest try to cram as many different accessories that you can to increase your storage option. Maybe get the 2 terabyte Seagate option, because that's going to hurt. Unfortunately, as far as I know, you don't have an option besides Seagate. So hopefully Microsoft does open up something soon. You don't have to get Seagate, because it is kind of pricey to get Seagate expansion drives. But you're going to need to definitely get that if you want to really play a lot of games, especially if you have a Series S. The Series X is already bad, but the S will be horrible. And one other thing that I definitely have to commend Microsoft on is when the system first came out, I think that this was the worst generation when it comes to first-party games. Microsoft had pretty much no games when the system came out. Every game that I got was on the PlayStation for my Series X. But I will say in time, they did start getting a better lineup of games to play. Right now, I find myself, I have a Series X, I have a PlayStation 5, I have an OLED Switch, and I'm starting up to try to play games on PC now. And out of all of those, my Series X is the system I play the most. And a big part of that is just because of, well, one, how easy it is to get into it, but there's this huge library of all these different games to play, and a lot of that goes to Game Pass. And then, you know, you have your third-party developers and little indie games and AAA games, and there's so many options. It's rare that I don't have something to play. On top of that, I will have to say too that when it comes to playing with my friends, Xbox has no competition, the best party chat system out there. It's better than PlayStation's, it's better than Steam's, Lord knows it's better than whatever Nintendo's doing. It is the best one. It already sounds better. And here's the thing, on the PlayStation, I'm using their 3D Pulse headphones. On the Xbox, I'm using their wireless headphones. And hands down, Microsoft just sounds better. Like, it's not even a comparison. And the thing is, it already sounded better, and then Microsoft just added noise suppression not that long ago. And then on top of that, they added Discord support. So Discord's a little janky, but at the end of the day, you know, they are really improving the overall experience. Ultimately, a lot of different complaints that some people may have had within, you know, the first video I did, and I was talking about some things, and the second video, a lot of stuff between them, they keep changing. The Xbox is definitely evolving in all aspects. Microsoft keeps doing updates with AMD to improve the graphic quality of the way the games are. Microsoft is doing a lot to make sure that that they have a better gaming library. I feel like in the next year or two, they're going to have so many games. I'm looking for Starfield next year. But I feel like they're going to have a lot of first-party games out there. And then on top of that, you know, the system is built. It seemed like it was built relatively future-proof in the aspect of it runs extremely smooth. It's super quiet. If you hear a fan going on right now, it's actually my Xbox mini fridge, because that's loud. I think they fixed it with some newer mini fridges that they came out with, but the system itself is just totally quiet. And it's very enjoyable, and it's very sleek. It's not overly huge like the PlayStation is, but you know, I feel like it's a nice size. It looks like a little mini computer. Dust, you know, over time it does collect a lot of dust, even though, and I do try to clean as much as I possibly can. But ultimately still extremely quiet. So my thought process, just to round this all out, is this system worth the $500? Is it worth putting your money in buying this? And I'll try to make this as simple as possible. Now I'm going to do, and keep in mind, I'm going to do another video about the PlayStation 5, then I'm going to do one comparing both systems together. Do I feel like the system's worth $500? The short answer, yes. Do I feel like there's a lot of value in this system? I really do. I feel like if you was to go out right now, this holiday season, and buy a Series X, you'll be extremely happy, because there's a lot of games that are going to come out. Now, is the first party games coming out? Unfortunately, no. They're not going to come out probably anytime soon. I think I forgot when Starfield's coming out, but I think that's the really next big Xbox exclusive game coming out. But the games that are out right now on the system, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Microsoft's putting a lot of money behind Game Pass to make sure that you have a lot of options to play. And I feel like as far as graphic wise goes, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed. The system looks really, really great. It's not gonna be comparing against some $700, $800, $2,000 graphics card. For a $500 gaming computer, it looks really, really good. I heavily suggest that if you have the ability to, and if you can find them, get it. If you see a Series S, I would suggest getting that. The hard drive space is horrible, but the Series S is a great value for what it is. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, Microsoft is doing so much to constantly upgrade this system. I see it all the time. They're doing all these updates. Microsoft's doing a bigger push. If you're a fan of JRPGs, Microsoft's trying to do a bigger push when it comes to JRPG games. I feel like in the next couple of years, we're going to start hearing something about a pro model before we get to the new generation. So I feel like you're still going to have a little bit of life if you buy it relatively soon. But I am loving my Xbox. Like I said, it's the system I play more than any other system I have. Even though Sony has these legendary exclusives, and so does Nintendo to a degree, the Xbox is the one I'm always finding myself going back to all the time, because the overall experience I think is better than what the competitors have to offer. But just because I think that doesn't mean that I feel like you should necessarily buy it over PlayStation 5. But I will explain all those in my next videos. So make sure, if you're not, go ahead and subscribe. If you're curious what I thought about last year, I'll have somewhere here-ish, wherever, I'm gonna have a box so you can go back and check out that video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about this, if this is a series or something that you think is interesting, let me know, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. See ya.